The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of some one gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, "tapping at my chamber door. Only this, and nothing more." Ah, distinctively I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrote its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my book surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels named Lenore, nameless here for evermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door." Some late night visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. 'Tis it is, and nothing more. Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into that darkness, peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, Lenore. This I whispered, and echoed murmured back the word, Lenore. Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning. Soon again I heard a tapping, somewhat louder than I. Surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then, what threat is, what this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind and nothing more. Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter, and there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obstinate made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mind of lord and lady perched above my chamber door. Perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. Perched and sat and nothing more. Then this ebony bird, beguiling my sad fancy into a smile, by the grave and stern decorum of countenance it wore. "Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou," I said, "art sure no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore." Quoth thy raven, "Nevermore." Much I marveled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevance bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed in seeing this bird above his chamber door. Bird or beast upon the sculpted bust above his chamber door, with such name as Nevermore. But the raven sitting lonely on the placid bust spoke only that word as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing further then he uttered, not a feather then he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, "Other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before." And then the bird said, "Nevermore." Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, "Doubtless," said I, "what it utters it is only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master who unmercifully disaster followed fast and followed faster till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore of nevermore." But the raven still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird, and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy onto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, gasting, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no symbol expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burn into my bosom's bore. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushioned velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamp lining gloating o'er she shall press nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wrenched, I cry, thy God hath left thee. By these angels he had sent thee respite and Nethin from memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this King Neptune, and forgot this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempter sent or whenever tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate, yet all undaunting, on this desert land enchanted, on this home of horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm and glide? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by the heaven that bends us above us, by the God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aidenn it shall clasp a saint maiden whose angels named Lenore, clasp a rare radiant maiden whose the angels named Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shriek of parting. Get thee back into the tempest of night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plum as a token of that lie thy sword has spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never fitting, still is sitting on the plaited bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door, and his eyes all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamp light o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor, and my soul from out the shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore.